Right now, somewhere in America, a 24-year-old college graduate is sitting in her car. The engine is off, the windows are fogging up because she's been sitting there for 20 minutes. She's staring at her phone. Her bank account reads $47.12. $47. That's it. That's what's standing between her and complete financial disaster. She has a degree hanging on her bedroom wall. She graduated with honors. Her parents were so proud they cried at the ceremony. She has $38,000 in student loans. She has a car payment of $387 every single month. She has rent due in 6 days. And she has a job, a real job, one that pays her every 2 weeks. And somehow by the ninth of every single month, she's broke. Again, every single month, the same cycle. Money comes in, money vanishes. And she sits there in her car wondering what the hell she's doing wrong. Does that sound familiar? Maybe that's you right now listening to this. Maybe that was you 5 years ago. Maybe that's your daughter or your son or your best friend. Maybe you've never sat in a car staring at your bank account, but you know that quiet sinking feeling, that feeling where you check your balance and your stomach drops, where you do the math in your head and realize you can't make it work this month. Where you smile at dinner with friends, but inside you're calculating whether you can afford to split the bill. Here's what nobody tells you about that feeling. It's not your fault. Let me say that again because I need it to sink in. It is not your fault. You were never given the tools. You were never handed the playbook. You were sent into the most complex financial system in human history with absolutely zero training. That's like being thrown into the ocean and told to swim when nobody ever taught you what water is. But here's the thing, and I need you to really hear this part. After today, it is your responsibility. Because after the next 45 minutes, you won't be able to say nobody told you. You won't be able to say you didn't know. The information is right here, right now, in your ears. What you do with it after that is entirely up to you. Because here's the truth that keeps me up at night. You spent 12 years in school. Some of you spent 16. Some of you spent 20. 2 decades of your life sitting in classrooms. You learned about the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. You can probably still hear your 7th grade science teacher saying those exact words. You memorized the year Columbus sailed, 1492. See? It's still stuck in your brain, taking up valuable real estate. You learned how to calculate the area of a triangle. You dissected a frog. You read Shakespeare. You learned about tectonic plates and the periodic table and the French Revolution. But can you tell me what compound interest is? Can you explain how your credit score is calculated? Do you know the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA? Can you tell me what inflation is doing to your savings account right now as you're listening to this? Do you know what an index fund is? Do you know why your bank gives you 0.01% interest on your savings while charging you 24.99% on your credit card? Yeah, I didn't think so. And that's not because you're stupid. Let me be very clear about that. That is not because you lack intelligence. You learned calculus, you wrote research papers, you passed exams that would make most people cry. You are clearly capable of learning complex things. The problem is nobody ever taught you this. The single most important life skill, the one thing that touches every area of your life. Your health, your relationships, your stress, your freedom, your choices, your sleep, everything. Money is connected to everything. And they taught you about parallelograms instead. Well, that ends today, right here, right now, in your earbuds, on your commute, in your gym, in your bed at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep because you're worried about bills. Wherever you are right now, this is your moment. This is your turning point. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to teach you more about money than 16 years of school ever did. I'm going to break down how money actually works in the modern world, not theory, not textbook nonsense, real practical knowledge that you can use starting today. I'm going to explain why the rich keep getting richer, while most people keep running on a hamster wheel. I'm going to show you how a single concept called compound interest can turn $200 a month into over $1 million. And I'm going to give you the 5 money rules that if you follow them starting today will completely transform your financial future. This isn't some boring lecture from a professor who's never lived in the real world. This isn't some guru in a rented Lamborghini trying to sell you a $997 course. This isn't complicated. This isn't intimidating. This is a conversation, just you and me. Think of me as that friend who happens to know about money and is finally sitting you down and telling you everything you need to know. No judgment, no jargon, just the truth. Welcome to the Compound Voice, where your wealth grows when you listen. I'm your host, and this is Money 101, the basics nobody taught you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Great Failure. Let me tell you a story about a guy named Marcus. Marcus did everything right. At least that's what he thought. He grew up in a middle-class family in Columbus, Ohio. Good parents, loving home, safe neighborhood, the kind of street where people wave at each other and leave their garage doors open. His dad worked at a manufacturing plant for 32 years. Same company, same shift, never missed a day. His mom was a fourth-grade teacher at the elementary school 6 blocks from their house. They weren't rich, but they weren't struggling either. They had a house with a mortgage they never talked about, 2 cars that were always a few years old but ran fine, a lawn that got mowed every Saturday morning, and a belief. A deep, unshakable belief that education was the ticket to a better life. So Marcus listened. He did what he was told. He studied hard, he got good grades, he played basketball. He stayed out of trouble while some of his friends didn't. When it came time for college, his parents sat him down at the kitchen table. His mom made coffee. His dad cleared his throat the way he always did before saying something important, and they told him the same thing millions of parents tell their kids every single year. Go to college, Marcus. Get a good degree. Get a good job. Work hard, and you'll be fine. That's the formula. That's how it works. And Marcus believed them. Why wouldn't he? It worked for his parents, sort of. They had a house, they had stability, they seemed fine. So he applied to a state university. He got in. He chose business as his major because it sounded practical and safe, and his uncle, who drove a BMW, said business was a smart move. He spent 4 years in college. He pulled all-nighters. He wrote papers. He passed exams. He did group projects with people who didn't do any work. He walked across that stage on graduation day with a 3.4 GPA and a handshake from a dean whose name he'd already forgotten. His mom cried in the audience. His dad recorded the whole thing on his phone. Vertically. His grandma put his graduation photo on the mantle right next to Jesus. Marcus had made it. He'd done the thing. He'd followed the formula. Then real life started. Marcus got a job at a marketing firm 3 months after graduation. Starting salary $52,000 a year. He nearly fell out of his chair when they told him the number. $52,000. To a kid who'd been surviving on dining hall food and $18 in his checking account that sounded like a fortune. He called his mom from the parking lot. She screamed so loud he had to hold the phone away from his ear. His dad said he was proud. 2 words, that's all Marcus needed. That first paycheck hit his bank account on a Friday afternoon. He remembers the exact moment. He was at his desk pretending to look busy. His phone buzzed, direct deposit, $1,923 after taxes. After deductions he didn't fully understand. But still, nearly $2,000 for 2 weeks of work. He felt rich. After years of scraping by, suddenly there was real money flowing in. Every 2 weeks like clockwork. Money he earned. Money with his name on it. So Marcus did what anyone in his position would do. What society expected him to do, what every commercial and Instagram post and friend group was telling him to do. He upgraded his life. He got an apartment, not the cheapest one across town near the railroad tracks, the nice one. The one with the granite countertops and the gym in the basement and the pool he'd use maybe twice. $1,200 a month. But he deserved it, right? He worked hard. He earned this. He got a car. His old Honda Civic from college had a dent in the bumper and made a weird noise when he turned left. So he walked into a dealership on a Saturday morning just to look, just to browse. He drove out 4 hours later in a brand new sedan, $387 a month for 60 months. The salesman shook his hand and said congratulations like Marcus had won something. He hadn't won anything. He just signed away $23,000 he didn't have. He got new clothes because you can't show up to a marketing firm in college hoodies. He got a new phone because his old one was cracked. He started eating out because he was too tired to cook after work. $15 here, $20 there, a subscription he forgot about, another subscription he meant to cancel. Coffee every morning because that's what adults do. $4.75 every single day. That's $1,733 a year on coffee. 6 months in, Marcus was making more money than he'd ever made in his life. And he was broke. Not homeless broke, not can't eat broke, but the kind of broke that sneaks up on you. The kind where you check your bank account on a Wednesday and see $214 and payday isn't until Friday. The kind where your credit card balance keeps climbing, but you only look at the minimum payment. The kind where you tell yourself, I'll figure it out next month, every month. He was earning $52,000 a year. That's roughly $4,300 a month after taxes, and by the end of every single month, every single one, it was gone, all of it. Sometimes he'd overdraft. Sometimes he'd put groceries on his credit card. Sometimes he'd skip his student loan payment and tell himself he'd double up next month. He never doubled up next month. And here's the part that really stings. Nobody around him was any different. His coworkers were doing the exact same thing. His friends from college were doing the exact same thing. Everyone was posting photos of brunches and vacations and new apartments, and nobody was talking about the credit card debt funding all of it. Nobody was talking about the fact that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Nobody was talking about the fact that the average American has $994 in credit card debt. Nobody talks about that stuff because we've been trained to show our highlight reel and hide our bank statements. Marcus wasn't stupid. Let me make that absolutely clear. Marcus was intelligent. Marcus graduated college. Marcus held a professional job. Marcus could analyze marketing data and build presentations and think strategically about brand positioning. He could do complex things. But nobody had ever taught him the simple things. The fundamental things about money that should be as basic as knowing how to read. Nobody told Marcus about the 50-30-20 rule. Nobody explained needs versus wants. Nobody taught him what an emergency fund is or why he needed one before buying a single thing. Nobody told him that his brand new car lost 20% of its value the second he drove it off the lot. Nobody explained that the minimum payment on a credit card is designed to keep you in debt for decades. Nobody told him that the 4x75 coffee wasn't the problem. The problem was that he had no plan, no system, no structure, no financial education whatsoever. Marcus wasn't bad with money. Marcus was uneducated about money, and there is a massive difference between those two things. Being bad with money means you know what to do and you choose not to do it. Being uneducated about money means nobody ever showed you what to do in the first place. Marcus was the second one, and so are most people listening to this right now. You're not bad with money. You were just never taught. Now here's where this story becomes important, because Marcus could have stayed on that path. Most people do. Most people ride that paycheck to paycheck treadmill for their entire lives. They make more money and they spend more money and nothing ever changes. They upgrade their apartment, and then their house, and then their car, and then their lifestyle, and they're always exactly one paycheck away from disaster, no matter how much they earn. There are people making $200,000 a year who are just as broke as people making $40,000 a year. Income is not the problem. The problem is what you do with it. And what you do with it depends entirely on what you know. Marcus got lucky, and I'll tell you why I say lucky. One random Tuesday night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. His rent was due in 3 days. His car payment had already come out. His credit card bill was sitting unopened on his kitchen counter because he was afraid to look at it, and he did something that would change his life. He picked up his phone and typed a simple question into Google. Why am I always broke? That's it. 5 words. Why am I always broke? And what he found in the next few hours blew his mind. He found articles about budgeting, about compound interest, about the difference between assets and liabilities, about emergency funds and index funds and the time value of money, concepts that were so fundamental, so basic, so essential that he couldn't believe he'd never heard of them before. It was like discovering that everyone else had been given a map and he'd been walking around lost this whole time. That night, Marcus didn't sleep, but for the first time it wasn't because of anxiety. It was because of excitement, because he realized something powerful. He wasn't broken. The system that was supposed to educate him was broken, and now that he knew that he could fix it, he could learn what he should have been taught years ago, and he could start making different choices. That's what this audiobook is about. That's why you're here. You are Marcus. Or maybe you're pre-Google search Marcus, still stuck in the cycle, still confused, still wondering why the math never works out. Either way, you're in the right place. The education system failed you. I'm not being dramatic, I'm stating a fact. A study by the National Endowment for Financial Education found that only 17 states in America require high school students to take a personal finance course. 17 out of 50. That means in 33 states, you can graduate high school without ever learning what a budget is. You can get a diploma, walk across a stage, throw your cap in the air, and have absolutely no idea how to manage the money you're about to start earning. And it's not just America. In the UK, only 40% of young adults say they received any form of financial education. In Canada, it's similar. Across the Western world, we have built education systems that prepare you for everything except the one thing that will determine more of your quality of life than almost anything else: money. Think about that for a second. Money determines where you live, what you eat, what doctor you see when you're sick, whether you can take time off when your child is born, whether you retire at 55 or work until you're 70, whether you sleep peacefully or lie awake at 2 a.m. doing math in your head. Money is not everything. I will never say money is everything. But money is the foundation upon which almost everything else in your life is built. And we don't teach it. We teach geometry instead. But here's the good news, and I always like to end with good news. The fact that you're listening to this right now means you've already taken the most important step. You've decided to learn. You've decided that the cycle stops here. You've decided that you're not going to be another statistic, another person who earns a good living but has nothing to show for it, another person who retires broke and wonders what happened. You are here. You are listening. And in the chapters ahead, I'm going to give you everything you need: the concepts, the tools, the rules, the mindset, everything that schools should have taught you but didn't. Everything that Marcus discovered on that random Tuesday night at 2 a.m. The difference between you and Marcus is that you don't have to stumble onto this information by accident. It's being handed to you right now. Organized, simplified, explained in plain English. No jargon, no textbooks, no exams. Just a conversation between you and me that could genuinely change the trajectory of your financial life. So take a breath. Get comfortable, and let's move on to Chapter 2, where I'm going to explain how money actually works. Not the stuff they put in textbooks, the real stuff. The stuff that once you understand it, you'll never look at a dollar bill the same way again. Chapter 2, How Money Actually Works. Let me ask you something that sounds ridiculously simple. What is money? If a 5-year-old walked up to you right now and said, "What is money?" what would you say? You'd probably hold up a dollar bill and say, "This is money." But that doesn't answer the question. That's like holding up a basketball and saying, "This is basketball." You haven't explained the game. You haven't explained the rules. Most people use money every single day of their lives, but they've never stopped to understand what it actually is. Today we learn the rules. Thousands of years ago, before money existed, people used the barter system. You had chickens, your neighbor had wheat, so you traded. Simple, right? Except it wasn't. What if your neighbor didn't want chickens? What if he wanted fish? Now you have to find someone with fish who wants chickens, then trade for fish, then bring fish back to get wheat. This was called the double coincidence of wants. Both people had to want what the other had at the exact same time. It almost never worked smoothly. So humans got creative. Different civilizations started using common items as a medium of exchange: shells, beads, salt. Fun fact, the word salary comes from the Latin word salarium, which is connected to salt. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt because it was that valuable. Eventually, people figured out that metals were the perfect solution. Gold, silver, bronze. They were rare enough to hold value, durable enough to last, and divisible enough to make different-sized payments. For thousands of years, this worked perfectly. But carrying gold around is heavy and dangerous, so people started leaving their gold with goldsmiths who had the best vaults. You'd give a goldsmith your gold, and he'd give you a paper receipt. Instead of going back, every time you wanted to buy something, you could just hand someone the receipt. The receipt represented the gold. That's how paper money was born, and those goldsmiths became the first bankers. Then the goldsmiths noticed something. All that gold just sat there. Nobody came back for it. So they thought, why don't I lend this gold to other people and charge them interest? As long as everyone doesn't come back at the same time, I can make money off money that isn't even mine. They started lending out other people's gold, charging interest, pocketing the profit. The depositors had no idea. Sound familiar? That's because your bank does this right now. Today, with your paycheck, they take your money, lend it to others at high interest rates, and give you almost nothing in return. Now here's where everything changed. For most of history, paper money was backed by gold. This was called the gold standard. Every dollar was connected to a specific amount of gold in a government vault. Governments couldn't print unlimited money because every dollar had to be backed by something real. Then came 1971. Remember this date. President Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard. One speech, one decision, everything changed. After 1971, the US dollar was no longer backed by gold or silver or anything physical. It became fiat currency. Fiat comes from Latin, meaning by decree. The money has value because the government says it has value. That's it. That $100 bill in your wallet costs 17 cents to print. But we all agree it's worth $100, not because of what it's made of, but because we collectively believe in its value. Money is a shared story, the most powerful story humans have ever told. It works because almost 8 billion people believe the same story simultaneously. The moment people stop believing, the money becomes worthless. It happened in Venezuela, in Zimbabwe, in Weimar Germany. When trust collapsed, people carried wheelbarrows of cash just to buy bread. And if money isn't backed by gold and the government can print as much as they want, what stops them? Nothing. In 2020 alone, the United States printed approximately 40% of all US dollars that have ever existed. 40% in 1 year. And when more money enters the system, something happens that directly affects you: inflation. Inflation is the gradual increase in prices and the gradual decrease in the purchasing power of your money. Your money buys less stuff as time goes on. $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. Your money is melting like an ice cube on a kitchen counter. You might not notice it minute to minute, but give it enough time and there's nothing left. When 1990, a movie ticket cost $4.23. Today it's over $11. Did movies get better? Not really. Your dollar just lost value. In 1970, the average house cost $23,000. Today it's over $400,000. Houses aren't 17 times better. Your dollar is worth a fraction of what it used to be. The average inflation rate is about 3% per year. Sounds small, right? But if you have $10,000 in a savings account earning Bureau 1% interest after 10 years of 3% inflation, your money only has the purchasing power of about $7,374. You lost over $2,600 without spending a single penny. Your money was robbed in broad daylight and you didn't even know it. Here's what I need you to take away from this chapter: 5 fundamental truths. Number 1. Money is a shared belief system. It has value because we all agree it does. Nothing more. Number 2. Banks make money by using your money. They pay you almost nothing and charge others a lot. That's their entire business model. Number 3. Your money loses value every single day due to inflation. If it's not growing, it's shrinking. Number 4. The system is not designed in your favor. It's designed to keep banks and financial institutions profitable. Number 5. Understanding how money works is not optional. It's a survival skill in the modern world. Marcus from Chapter 1 didn't know any of this. He didn't know his savings account was losing money to inflation. He didn't know his bank was lending his deposits and keeping the profits. But you know now, and that changes everything, because once you see how the game works, you can't unsee it. In the next chapter, we're going to make this personal. We're talking about income versus wealth. And here's a truth that will surprise you. How much money you make has almost nothing to do with how wealthy you are. Sounds crazy, right? By the end of Chapter 3, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Stay with me, we're just getting started. Chapter 3. Income vs. Wealth, the critical difference. I need to tell you something that might upset you. Your salary doesn't matter, not the way you think it does. I know you're thinking, what are you talking about? Of course my salary matters. And yes, your salary matters for survival. But your salary has almost nothing to do with whether you'll ever be wealthy. That distinction is the most misunderstood concept in personal finance. Let me introduce you to two people, Jessica and David. They both live in Chicago, both 30 years old, both single, both started working at 22. That's where the similarities end. Jessica is a corporate attorney. She makes $190,000 a year. She drives a BMW she leases for $612 a month. She lives in a luxury apartment downtown. Rent $3,200. She wears designer clothes, eats at nice restaurants 4 times a week, takes 2 international vacations a year. Her Instagram is flawless. Everyone looks at Jessica and thinks she's wealthy. She's living the dream. David is an electrician. He makes $68,000 a year. He drives a 2016 Toyota Camry he bought used and paid off in 2 years. He lives in a modest 1-bedroom apartment. Rent $1,100. He cooks at home, buys clothes at Target. His Instagram has maybe 12 posts. Nobody looks at David and thinks wealthy. Now here's the question. Who is actually wealthier? Jessica earns $190,000, but she spends $187,000. After her lease payment, rent, student loans, shopping, dining out, vacations, subscriptions, and everything else, she saves about $3,000 a year. She has $11,000 in her savings account and $14,000 in credit card debt. Her net worth is negative. She owes more than she owns. At 30 years old, making $190,000 a year, Jessica is technically broke. David earns $68,000 and spends $42,000. He saves and invests $26,000 every single year. He's been doing this since he was 24. He has $47,000 in a retirement account, $23,000 in an index fund, $15,000 in an emergency fund, and zero debt. Zero. His net worth is $85,000 and growing every single month. David, the electrician, is wealthier than Jessica, the corporate attorney, by a lot. And nobody would ever guess it. Because we've been trained to measure success by what people spend, not by what people keep. This is the difference between income and wealth. And if you don't understand this difference, you will spend your entire life chasing the wrong thing. Income is what you earn. It's your salary, your paycheck, the money that comes in. Income is important because it's the raw material. It's the starting point. But income alone means nothing. Absolutely nothing. There are doctors making $300,000 a year who are drowning in debt. There are athletes making millions who go bankrupt within 5 years of retiring. Exposed recently was the fact that nearly 80% of NFL players face financial trouble within 2 years of leaving the game. 2 years. These are people who made more money in a single season than most people make in a lifetime. And they went broke. Wealth is what you keep. It's the money that stays, the money that grows, the money that works for you while you sleep. Wealth is measured by net worth, which is a simple formula. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Your assets minus your liabilities. That number is your real financial score, not your salary, not your job title, not your car, your net worth. Think of it like a bathtub. Your income is the water flowing in from the faucet. Your expenses are the drain at the bottom. If the drain is wide open, it doesn't matter how fast the water flows in. The tub will never fill up. That's Jessica. She has a massive faucet, but her drain is wide open. David has a smaller faucet, but he's plugged the drain. His tub is filling up steadily month after month. There's a term for what happens to people like Jessica. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent killer of wealth. Lifestyle inflation is when your spending increases every time your income increases. You get a raise, so you get a nicer apartment. You get a bonus, so you buy a nicer car. You get a promotion, so you upgrade your wardrobe. Every time more money comes in, more money goes out. The gap between earning and spending never grows. Sometimes it shrinks. This is what happened to Marcus in Chapter 1. The moment money started flowing in, he expanded his lifestyle to match, and this is what happens to most people. Studies show that the average American spends approximately 98 cents of every dollar they earn. 98 cents. That means for every $100 that comes in, only $2 stays. $2 out of 100. That's not building wealth. That's barely surviving with a nicer paint job. The wealthy do the opposite. They keep their lifestyle relatively stable even as their income grows. When they get a raise, they invest the difference. When they get a bonus, they put it to work. The gap between what they earn and what they spend grows wider and wider over time. And that gap is where wealth is built, not in the earning, in the gap. Here's a number I want tattooed on your brain: your savings rate. This is the percentage of your income that you save and invest. It's the single most important number in your financial life. More important than your salary, more important than your investment returns, more important than anything. If you earn $50,000 and save $5,000, your savings rate is 10%. If you earn $50,000 and save $15,000, your savings rate is 30%. That 20% difference will literally change your life by decades. Someone with a 10% savings rate will need to work roughly 51 years before they can retire. Someone with a 30% savings rate can retire in about 28 years. Same salary, same job, same city, but one person retires at 50 and the other works until 73. The only difference is the gap between earning and spending. Let me say that one more time because it might be the most important sentence in this entire audiobook. The gap between what you earn and what you spend will determine more about your financial future than how much money you make. So what do you do with this information? 3 things starting right now. First, stop comparing yourself to other people's spending. The person with the nicest car in the parking lot might be the brokest person in the building. Appearances mean nothing. Net worth means everything. Second, calculate your savings rate today. Look at your income. Look at what you saved last month. Divide savings by income. That's your number. If it's below 10%, we have work to do. If it's at 0, we have serious work to do. But don't feel ashamed. Feel informed. You can't fix what you don't measure. Third, start focusing on the gap. Every financial decision you make from this moment forward, ask yourself one question. Does this grow the gap or shrink the gap? That's it. That one question will transform how you think about every purchase, every subscription, every impulse buy. Jessica could out-earn David for the next 20 years, and she'd still be poorer than him unless she changes her behavior. Because wealth isn't about the money that comes in. It's about the money that stays and grows. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about the most powerful force in all of finance. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the 8th wonder of the world. It's called compound interest. And when you understand what it can do, you will never look at a single dollar the same way again. Chapter 4. The Power of Compound Interest. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the 8th wonder of the world. He said those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. Warren Buffett, the man worth over 100 billion credits, it is the single biggest reason for his wealth. And yet most people have never had it properly explained to them. It's called compound interest, and it is the most powerful force in personal finance, maybe in all of mathematics. By the end of this chapter, you'll understand why, and you'll realize that time, not money, is your greatest asset. Let me start with a story. 2 friends, Emma and Ryan, both 25 years old, both earn similar salaries. Both decide they want to start investing for retirement. But they do it very differently. Emma starts immediately at age 25. She invests $200 every single month into an index fund that earns an average of 10% per year. She does this for 10 years straight. Then at age 35, she stops completely. She never invests another penny. She just lets her money sit there and grow. Total amount Emma invested out of her own pocket, $24,000, $200 a month for 10 years. Ryan doesn't start until age 35. He figures he has time. He'll get to it later. At 35, he starts investing $200 a month into the exact same index fund, earning the exact same 10% per year. But unlike Emma, he never stops. He invests every single month from age 35 all the way to age 60, 25 years straight. Total amount Ryan invested out of his own pocket, $60,000. Now, who has more money at age 60? Ryan invested $60,000. Emma invested only $24,000. Ryan invested for 25 years. Emma invested for only 10. Surely Ryan wins, right? Wrong. Wrong. At age 60, Emma has approximately $1,024,000. Ryan has approximately $265,000. Emma has nearly 4 times more money despite investing less than half the amount for less than half the time. Read that again. Emma invested $24,000 and ended up with over $1 million. Ryan invested $60,000 and ended up with $265,000. How is that possible? One word: compounding. Let me explain compound interest in the simplest way possible. Simple interest means you earn interest only on your original amount. You put in $1,000 and earn 10%. You get $100. Next year, you earn 10% on the original $1,000 again. Another $100. It's flat, linear, predictable. Compound interest is completely different. You earn interest on your original amount plus interest on the interest you've already earned. Year 1, you invest $1,000 and earn 10%. You now have $1,100. Year 2, you earn 10% on $1,100, not just the original $1,000. That gives you $12,110. Year 3, you earn 10% on $1,110. Now you have $1,331. See what's happening? Each year, the growth gets bigger because the base keeps expanding. It starts slow, almost painfully slow. In the early years, it feels like nothing is happening. You're investing $200 a month, and your account barely moves. You check your balance and think this is pointless. That's where most people quit. They don't see dramatic results in the first year or two, so they stop. They pull the money out, they give up. But here's the secret. Compound interest is a snowball rolling down a mountain. At the top, the snowball is tiny. It picks up a little snow with each rotation, barely noticeable, but it keeps rolling, and halfway down the mountain, something incredible happens. The snowball is now so big that each rotation picks up massive amounts of snow. By the bottom of the mountain, it's an avalanche, unstoppable, enormous, all from a tiny snowball that started at the top. That's exactly what happened to Emma. Her first few years of investing produced modest returns, but she started early. She gave the snowball time to roll, and by the time she was 60, that snowball had been rolling for 35 years. The compounding became so powerful in the later years that her money was growing by tens of thousands of dollars per year, without her adding a single penny. Ryan's snowball started 10 years later, and despite investing more money for more years, he could never catch up. Because those first 10 years that Emma had and Ryan didn't were the most critical. That's when the snowball started rolling. You can't make up for lost time with compounding. You can only start now. Let me make this even more real. Let's say you're 25 right now and you start investing $300 a month. Just $300, that's $10 a day. Less than 2 fancy coffees. You invest in a simple index fund that averages 10% per year, which is roughly what the S&P 500 has averaged historically. You do this every single month without fail. At age 35, you'll have approximately $61,000. Not bad, but not life-changing. At age 45, you'll have approximately $207,000. Now we're getting somewhere. At age 55, you'll have approximately $622,000. Things are accelerating. At age 65, you'll have approximately $1,800,000, $1.8 million. Your total investment out of pocket, $144,000 over 40 years. The other $1,656,000 was generated entirely by compound interest. The money made money, which made more money, which made even more money. You contributed $144,000 and compounding gave you $1.6 million for free. That's not magic, that's mathematics, and it's available to anyone who starts early and stays consistent. But here's the dark side. Compound interest works in both directions. When it works for you, it builds empires. When it works against you, it buries you alive. And guess what? Every time you carry a credit card balance, compound interest is working against you. Let's say you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. You make only the minimum payment each month, which is usually around 2% of the balance. How long does it take to pay off that $5,000? Take a guess. 2 years? 5 years? Try 27 years. And the total amount you'd pay back. Over $15,000. You borrowed $5,000 and paid back 3 times that amount. The extra $10,000 went straight to the credit card company. That's compound interest working against you. This is why credit card companies love minimum payments. They're designed to keep you in debt as long as possible so they can collect maximum interest. Every month, you carry a balance. You're paying interest on the original debt plus interest on the interest that was added last month. The hole gets deeper exponentially. The same force that can make you a millionaire can also keep you trapped in debt for decades. It all depends on which side of the equation you're on. So here's what I need you to understand. Compound interest rewards two things: starting early and being consistent. That's it. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need to pick the perfect stock. You need to start as early as humanly possible, and you need to keep going. Every single day you wait is a day of compounding you'll never get back. If you're 20, you have an extraordinary advantage. If you're 30, you still have a massive window. If you're 40 or 50, you absolutely can still build wealth, but you need to start today, not tomorrow, not next month, not when things settle down. Today, because the snowball needs time to roll. Remember Marcus from chapter 1? If Marcus had invested just $200 a month starting at 22 when he got his first job, instead of spending everything he would have over $150,000 by age 30, instead he had credit card debt, same person, same salary, same 8 years, radically different outcomes. The only difference was understanding this one concept. You now understand it. The question is, what are you going to do about it? In the next chapter, we're going to talk about something that's stealing your wealth even faster than a savings account losing to inflation. It's your credit score. What it is, how it's calculated, and why it can cost you or save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Chapter 5, Your Credit Score, the number that controls your life. There is a 3-digit number attached to your name right now that you probably don't think about very often. Maybe you've never even looked at it. But this number quietly controls more of your life than you realize. It determines whether you get approved for an apartment or get rejected, whether you pay 4% interest on a car loan or 18%, whether you get that mortgage for your dream home or get laughed out of the bank. It can even determine whether you get hired for certain jobs. This number is your credit score, and most people have absolutely no idea how it works or why it matters so much. Your credit score is a number between 300 and 850 that represents how trustworthy you are with borrowed money. That's it. It's a trust score. Lenders use it to decide whether to lend you money and how much interest to charge you. The higher your score, the more trustworthy you appear. The lower your score, the riskier you look. And risk costs money. A lot of money. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's say two people walk into a bank to get a 30-year mortgage for a $350,000 home. Person A has a credit score of 760. Person B has a credit score of 620. Same house, same bank, same loan amount. Completely different outcomes. Person A with the 760 score gets approved at 6.5% interest. Their monthly payment is $2,212. Over 30 years, they pay a total of $796,320. Person B with the 620 score gets approved but at 8.1% interest. Their monthly payment is $2,597. Over 30 years, they pay a total of $934,920. The difference, $138,600. $138,000 for the exact same house. Same neighborhood, same kitchen, same backyard. Person B paid $138,600 more simply because of a 3-digit number. That's not a small difference. That's a house on top of a house. That's a college education for 2 kids. That's decades of retirement savings, all determined by a number most people ignore. So how is this number calculated? Your credit score is made up of 5 components. Each one carries a different weight. The first component is payment history. This makes up 35% of your score, the single biggest piece. It answers one simple question: do you pay your bills on time? Every time you make a payment on time, your score goes up slightly. Every time you miss a payment or pay late, your score drops, sometimes dramatically. A single missed payment can drop your score by 100 points and stay on your record for 7 years. 7 years for one mistake. That's how seriously the system takes this. Pay your bills on time, every time, no exceptions. Set up autopay if you have to. This one factor alone is more than a third of your entire score. The second component is credit utilization. This is 30% of your score. Credit utilization is how much of your available credit you're actually using. If you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit and you're carrying a $7,000 balance, you're using 70% of your available credit. That's terrible. The system sees that and thinks this person is desperate. They're using almost everything available to them. They must be in trouble. Ideally, you want to keep your utilization below 30%. Below 10% is even better. So if you have a $10,000 limit, try to never carry more than $1,000 to $3,000 at any given time. The third component is length of credit history. This is 15% of your score. How long have you had credit accounts open? The longer, the better. This is why financial experts tell you never close your oldest credit card even if you don't use it anymore. That card is anchoring your credit history. If your oldest card is 8 years old and you close it, your average credit age drops and your score drops with it. Keep old accounts open. Use them once every few months for a small purchase. Pay it off immediately. Let them age like fine wine. The fourth component is credit mix. This is 10% of your score. Lenders want to see that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. Credit cards are called revolving credit. Car loans and mortgages are called installment credit. Having a mix of both tells lenders you're experienced and capable. You don't need to go out and take on debt just to diversify. But having a credit card plus a small installment loan looks better than having 5 credit cards and nothing else. The fifth component is new credit inquiries. This is 10% of your score. Every time you apply for a new credit card or loan, the lender does a hard inquiry on your credit. Each hard inquiry can drop your score by a few points. 1 or 2 inquiries is fine. But if you apply for 6 credit cards in 2 months, the system thinks you're desperate for money. That's a red flag. Space out your applications. Only apply for credit when you actually need it. So now you know the 5 pieces. Payment history, 35%. Credit utilization, 30%. Length of history, 15%. Credit mix, 10%. New inquiries, 10%. Together, they create the 3-digit number that follows you everywhere. The good news is that you are in control of every single one of these factors. Your credit score isn't random. It isn't luck. It's a direct reflection of your financial behavior. Change your behavior and your score changes. Here's a quick breakdown of what different scores mean. 800 to 850 is exceptional. You get the best rates on everything. Lenders love you. 740 to 799 is very good. You'll still get excellent rates and easy approvals. 670 to 739 is good. Most lenders will work with you, but rates won't be the best. 580 to 669 is fair. You'll get approved sometimes, but at higher interest rates, you're paying a penalty for being in this range. 300 to 579 is poor. Most lenders will reject you. The ones that don't will charge you extremely high interest. You're trapped in the expensive lane. If your score is low, don't panic. Credit scores can be rebuilt. It takes time and discipline, but it's absolutely doable. Start by checking your score for free through apps like Credit Karma or through your bank. Know your number, then focus on the 2 biggest factors. Pay every bill on time and lower your credit utilization. Those 2 things alone account for 65% of your score. Fix those and the number starts climbing. If you have no credit at all, that's actually common for young people. You can start building credit with a secured credit card. You put down a deposit of, say, $500 and that becomes your credit limit. Use it for small purchases, gas, groceries, pay it off in full every month. Within 6 to 12 months, you'll have a credit score and you'll be building a positive history from day one. Remember this. Your credit score is not a measure of your worth as a human being. It's a game. And like any game, once you know the rules, you can win. You now know the rules. Every on-time payment is a point in your favor. Every low balance is a point in your favor. Every year of history is a point in your favor. Play the long game, and the score takes care of itself. Marcus from Chapter 1 had a credit score of 580 because he missed payments and maxed out his credit cards. That meant every loan he applied for came with sky-high interest rates. He was paying a penalty on everything because of a number he didn't even know existed. Don't be Marcus. Know your number. Control your number. Let it work for you instead of against you. In our final chapter, we're bringing everything together. The 5 money rules that will change your financial life forever. Simple, practical, unbreakable. If you follow them starting today, your relationship with money will never be the same. Chapter 6, the 5 money rules to live by. We've covered a lot of ground together. You now understand how money works. You know the difference between income and wealth. You've seen the extraordinary power of compound interest. And you understand the credit score game better than 90% of the population. But knowledge without action is useless. It's like knowing the recipe but never cooking the meal. So in this final chapter, I'm giving you 5 money rules. These aren't suggestions. These aren't nice ideas. These are unbreakable laws of personal finance that if you follow them starting today will fundamentally transform your financial life. Write them down, screenshot them, tattoo them on your arm, whatever it takes. These 5 rules are the foundation everything else is built upon. Rule number 1. Pay yourself first. This is the most important financial habit you will ever develop. Most people pay their bills first. Rent, car payment, phone, subscriptions, food, entertainment, and then whatever is left over at the end of the month they try to save. The problem is there's never anything left over. There's always another bill, another expense, another thing that needs your money. If you wait until the end of the month to save, you will save nothing. Every single month. Pay yourself first means the moment your paycheck hits your account, before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing, you move money into savings and investments, automatically, not manually, not when you remember, automatically. Set up an automatic transfer that moves 10% or 15% or 20% of your income into a separate account the day you get paid. That money is gone. It's invisible, it doesn't exist for spending purposes. You pay your future self before you pay your landlord, before you pay your electric company, before you pay Netflix. What happens next is fascinating. You adjust. You learn to live on what's left. If you were spending 100% of your income, you'll learn to spend 85%. Your brain adapts. Your lifestyle adjusts. And month after month, year after year, that money you paid yourself first grows, compounds, builds. While everyone else is wondering where their paycheck went, you're quietly building wealth on autopilot. Rule number 2. Build an emergency fund before anything else. Life will punch you in the face. I don't say that to be negative. I say that because it's a mathematical certainty. Your car will break down, you'll get sick, you'll lose a job, your roof will leak, something will happen that costs money you weren't expecting to spend. And when it happens, you have 2 options. Option A, you have an emergency fund and you handle it calmly. Option B, you don't have an emergency fund and you put it on a credit card at 22% interest, which creates debt, which creates stress, which creates more problems. Your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses, not 3 to 6 months of income, essential expenses, rent, utilities, food, transportation, insurance. If your essential monthly expenses are $2,500, your emergency fund goal is $7,500 to $15,000. Keep it in a high-yield savings account where it earns some interest but remains easily accessible. Don't invest it, don't touch it. This is not for vacations, not for sales, not for a new phone. This is for emergencies only. It's your financial bulletproof vest. You pray you never need it, but you'll be grateful it's there when you do. Rule number 3. Destroy high-interest debt immediately. Not all debt is created equal. A mortgage at 6% interest on a home that appreciates in value is very different from credit card debt at 24% interest on things that lose value the moment you buy them. High-interest debt is a financial emergency. It's a fire burning in your house. You don't casually get around to it. You attack it with everything you have. Here's why. Remember compound interest from Chapter 4? It works against you with debt. If you have $8,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and you only make minimum payments, you'll be paying it off for over 25 years, and you'll pay back over $20,000, more than double what you borrowed. Every month you carry that balance, the hole gets deeper, the interest compounds, the debt grows. List every debt you have. Write down the balance and the interest rate. Then attack the highest interest rate first while making minimum payments on everything else. When the highest is paid off, move to the next highest. This is called the avalanche method, and it saves you the most money mathematically. Some people prefer the snowball method, where you pay off the smallest balance first for the psychological win. Either works. The point is, pick a method and attack. Debt is not a lifestyle. It's a temporary problem with a permanent solution if you commit to it. Rule number 4. Invest early and consistently. You learned about compound interest. You saw what $200 a month can become over 30 or 40 years. But knowing and doing are two very different things. Most people know they should invest. Very few actually do it because it feels complicated, because they think they need thousands of dollars to start, because they're waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something. The right time to invest was yesterday. The second best time is today. You don't need to be a stock market genius. You don't need to pick individual stocks. You don't need to watch financial news all day. You need one thing: a low-cost index fund. An index fund is a basket of hundreds or thousands of stocks bundled together. When you buy an index fund, you're buying a tiny piece of the entire market. The S&P 500 index, for example, contains 500 of the largest companies in America. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, all of them. Instead of trying to pick the one winning stock, you own a piece of all of them. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10% per year over the long term. Some years it's up 20%, some years it's down 15%. But over decades, it trends upward. Always has. Your job is simple. Invest a fixed amount every single month regardless of what the market is doing. This is called dollar cost averaging. When the market is high, you buy fewer shares. When the market drops, you buy more shares at a discount. Over time, it averages out beautifully. Don't try to time the market. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time. Rule number 5. Never stop learning about money. This audiobook is not the end, it's the beginning. Financial literacy is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong practice. The world of money is constantly changing. Tax laws change, investment options evolve, new opportunities and new scams appear every year. The person who keeps learning keeps earning, the person who stops learning gets left behind. Read one book about money every month. Listen to financial podcasts on your commute. Follow smart financial creators online. Have conversations about money with people who are where you want to be. Break the taboo of talking about money. The reason most people are broke is because nobody talks about money openly. Rich families talk about money at the dinner table. Broke families say it's rude to discuss. That silence is expensive. Break it. Let me take you back to Marcus one final time. Marcus, who did everything right and still ended up broke. Marcus, who sat in his car with $47 in his bank account wondering what went wrong. After that late-night Google search, Marcus started following these rules. Not perfectly, not overnight, but consistently. He set up automatic transfers. He built an emergency fund. He attacked his credit card debt. He opened an investment account and started with just $100 a month. He read books. He listened to podcasts. He learned. 2 years later, Marcus had zero credit card debt, a credit score of 740, an emergency fund of $8,000, and an investment account growing every single month. He still earned $52,000 a year. Same job, same salary, but a completely different financial life. Because he learned what nobody taught him, and then he acted on it. You've now learned what nobody taught you. The question that matters now is simple. What are you going to do about it? And that's a wrap on Money 101, the basics nobody taught you from the Compound Voice. You came in not knowing the rules. Now you know the game. Money is a belief system. Wealth is what you keep, not what you earn. Compound interest is the most powerful force in finance. Your credit score is a game you can win, and 5 simple rules can change everything. But this is just the beginning. This was book 1 of 10. In our next audiobook, The Banking Game, Make Your Money Work, we're going deep into the world of banking. How to choose the right accounts, how to earn more interest on your savings, how high-yield savings accounts work, and how to stop letting banks profit off your ignorance. Remember, knowledge compounds just like interest. The more you listen, the more you grow. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. A friend, a sibling, a coworker, anyone stuck in the cycle that Marcus was stuck in. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, keep compounding. This has been the Compound Voice. Your wealth grows when you listen.